to The Book of Life, a show about Jewish books, music, film, and web. I'm Heidi Estrin. The Book of Life is a podcast service of the Feldman Library at Congregation B'nai Israel in Boca Raton, Florida. Additional support comes from the Association of Jewish Libraries. In June, I attended the association's conference in Pasadena, California. One morning at breakfast, I happened to sit down next to Dr. Reuven Firestone, the AJL conference's opening plenary speaker. Dr. Firestone is a professor of medieval Judaism and Islam at Hebrew Union College in LA, and is the founder and co-director of the Center for Muslim-Jewish Engagement. He told me about his new book, The Revival of Holy War in Judaism, and about his plenary talk entitled Jews in the Quran, Jews on the Quran. Have a listen, and check out the show notes for a link to his new book. I'm here with Dr. Reuven Firestone, who is the plenary speaker at the Association of Jewish Libraries Convention here in Pasadena, California. And he also is the author of a book that just came out last week. So I want to ask you about your book and also about the talk you're going to be giving today.
Well, the book is called Holy War in Judaism, The Fall and Rise of a Controversial Idea. It's published by Oxford University Press. And it is a longitudinal study, meaning a long-term study of the notion of divinely sanctioned war in Judaism, from the end of the biblical period to its revival in the modern period. And it is actually sort of volume 2, because 10 years ago I published a book also with Oxford University Press called Jihad, The Origin of Holy War in Islam. And my field is in Islamic studies and Jewish studies, and I was interested in the notion of holy war before 9/11. And these are the two areas that I have competence to deal with, text and tradition. And so that's really the story of the book. Really doesn't relate at all to the talk I'm giving today. The talk I'm giving today is about something else that I also work on, which is Quran. I do Quran interpretation, and I have been interested in the scriptural view of other in Scripture in general, that is in the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament and the Quran. And so today's talk is called Jews in the Quran, Jews on the Quran. So it's both an examination of how Jews are portrayed in the Scripture of Quran, Islamic Scripture, and also an examination of some medieval Jewish texts that relate to the Quran and are actually quite fascinating.
So just very briefly, how are Jews portrayed in the Quran?
They are portrayed inconsistently. So there are some texts that are actually extremely positive, like surprisingly positive, especially in the climate that we live in today. And then there are texts that are quite negative. As non-Muslims tend to read, when we read the Quran, we read the negative texts, and we use those texts to kind of confirm our fears. But there's two things we don't do, which would help us understand a better sense of the truth out there. And that is that we don't look at more positive representations. We sort of let them slide by because we don't expect them. They don't sort of compute our expectations. And the other thing we don't do is we don't look at our own scriptural text to see how they look at the other in our own tradition. So if you were to actually line up the Quran with the New Testament and the Hebrew Bible, you would find that the Quran is no more problematic in terms of its view of the religious other than the Hebrew Bible or the New Testament. As a matter of fact, it's probably more positive. But in this climate, it's hard for us to see that, and my job as an academic is not to conform to the narrative, but to challenge the narrative, and that's what I do in my work.
Excellent. All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
There are so many ways to connect with the Book of Life. Fan us at facebook.com/Book of Life Podcast. Follow us at twitter.com/Book of Life Pod. Email us at boooflifepodcast@gmail.com and listen to the latest episode by phone at 916-313-3820. And of course, find links to everything at bookoflifepodcast.com. The Book of Life is a podcast service of the Feldman Library at Congregation B'nai Israel in Boca Raton, Florida at cbiboca.org. and is supported in part by the Association of Jewish Libraries at jewishlibraries.org. Our background music is provided by the Freilachmakers Klezmer String Band at freilachmakers.com. Thanks for listening, and happy reading!